Hey guys, so today I'm doing my video on animal rights activism and why I think us as Catholics should be animal rights activists. And this is kind of more of a controversial subject, but a lot of my videos are kind of more controversial subjects. And I just want, with that notice, you guys to know that these are just my opinions. Obviously, they're based on facts and whatnot, but they're still my opinions, and I am obviously not trying to inflict my opinions on anyone, and I believe we all should have our own opinions, and we can learn and agree and disagree with other people's opinions, but that's the beauty of opinions, that they're our own. So if you don't agree with me, don't worry about it. I think it's still interesting to kind of debate and to kind of hear other sides of arguments and whatnot. And yes, I'm always open for a nice, respectful conversation. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And again, not trying to offend anyone, nothing like that. This is just my own personal opinion and take on it as a Catholic millennial. So, yep. So anyway, so first I wanted to kind of get started, kind of going back to like what animals are. So what are animals? Well, animals are God's creatures. He created them, and this is something we often forget, but He loves them. Oh, and also, guys, I have my phone here too because like there are some notes and some like facts that I kind of wrote down when I was kind of prepping for this talk that I thought were kind of like relevant. I mean, some of the facts like aren't like exactly specific, but like they were based off of um, facts, and you can also do your own research as well. Like if you want to look into some of this stuff, there's some excellent documentaries that I've seen, and oh my gosh, I wish, you know what, I don't know, I forgot the names of them. I can comment the names if you guys are interested, but there's some really awesome documentaries and videos that I've watched that really have like opened my eyes to the treatment of animals in factories and in these places. And this stuff isn't made up. Like there's pictures, like there's videos, like this is not made up, and like it's just awful. But I'm going to go into that detail in a little bit. But first, we're starting with what animals are. And animals are, oh, and I also have my Red Bull here. I forgot if I said this, but, or it's not my Red Bull. It's like my off-brand Red Bull from Aldi's. But, because I'm super tired and it's late, but I really still felt like doing this video. So, yeah, so if I drink it, like, don't be angry at me, please. Okay, so what are animals? Animals are creatures that God created, that He loves, and we often forget that. We kind of think of them a lot of the times, and we often use them, especially today and nowadays, and within factory system and within the profit-driven farming nowadays. We don't look at them as creatures, God's creatures. We look at them basically just in terms of dollar bills, and that is totally unacceptable according to God, because God wants us to respect all of His creation. That includes the earth too, so it's very important that we take care of the earth. That's our duty under God, you know. And He made each individual animal. You know, we like to think like us as humans like are the only ones who were made individually by God, but that's not true. He also made animals as well individually and loves each of them individually. Of course, He has a special. Humans, I'm not saying are not special, but I'm still saying that we need to still recognize God's love for all things that He created. And there's actually something really great that Pope Francis, who I love Pope Francis. I'm gonna do a video about like him and like why he's like seriously like my hero in another video. But basically Pope Francis did this. You know what? I'm gonna look at my phone really quick because I forgot exactly what it was called. It was he was voted PETA's Person of the Year, by the way, too, which I thought was like awesome because that was PETA's first religious leader that they ever voted for or like used as a Person of the Year, and he was voted Person of the Year because he's like the best. Like he's an animal like activist as well, so that's just, you know, he's just great. But okay, so basically, yeah, so he wrote a few years ago. It's this, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, encyclical named Praised Be, or Laudato Si, after St. Francis of Assisi's Canticle of the Sun. in which the saint praises the God for animals and creation. So in the encyclical, the Pope reminds us, we read in the Gospel that Jesus says, the birds of the air, that not one of them is forgotten before God. How can we possibly mistreat them or cause them harm? So basically, again, the Pope is kind of saying, like, how is it we are mistreating them? How is it that we are shoving them in factories and basically not letting them, have any even room to walk, injecting them with hormones that make their breasts so big that they can't even walk. Like, that is literally abuse. And like, not putting them under anesthesia, throwing them in grinders, cutting their beaks off, all these horrible, horrible things that these practices are nowadays in mass production, as well as the cosmetic industry and other industries as well that test on animals. Like, that is unneeded suffering, and like, that is not okay. So another thing is that Pope Francis does is he condemns the view that humankind has absolute domination over other creatures. And he believes that that is a misinterpretation, which I think is really cool that he kind of talks about that and kind of says, like, that whole viewpoint, like, where people say, like, oh, like, man, like, was made to, like, dominate all the rest of the things. Like, he can do whatever he wants with them. He can use them to make money. He can use the earth for all of its resources and just not, really care about anything else. But, and he's really saying that's totally misinterpreted. And he actually, I read this one article that talks about how the Pope met with Leonardo DiCaprio, who is so cute. I love Leonardo DiCaprio, but I mean, he's kind of a pig, but whatever. He's like so hot and he is a great actor. But so anyway, he met with the Pope, which was really cool, I thought, and they talked about like the environment and how and we'll talk about this in another video, like I said, but and how it's so important that there isn't this perception that mankind can do these kind of things to God's creation with no consequences. So I thought that was really neat. And then, so basically, the catechism, so going to the catechism now, sorry, I had to do this because, like, the light is, like, turned off. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches, and I'm sorry I'm reading this off, I don't want to miss what I wrote down. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that experimentation on animals is morally acceptable only when it remains within reasonable limits and contributes to caring for or saving human lives. So again, that's really saying that basically all of this stuff that they're doing, most 99%, that's not a real statistic, I guess, but it's definitely an estimation of how much, and I should look this up, and if you guys want to hear what it actually is, but a lot of percentage of this experimentation that they're doing is not going directly towards saving human lives. There's so many other methods and ways in which you can do these things without testing on animals and hurting animals and injecting them with cancer and all these horrible things that are, and just neglecting them and like breaking their bones and seeing how they react. Just horrible things, and I can literally show you guys a ton of like documentation if that's what you guys want to hear too as well. And like, I definitely am going to post the documentaries because these documentaries were like crazy, like changed my view. And I am and this is what we're going to get into a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, okay, so the point was that I wanted to say is like, obviously God cares so much for these animals and we should be treating them with respect. Then also I wanted to say that like, you can argue the point that God created animals for humans to eat and to consume. But the thing is first of all, they were part of Adam and Eve's Garden of Eden, which is probably a symbolic story. I'm going to do a video on that as well, but most likely it's a symbolic story, but it's still very important. It's still truth in its own way. So everything is, the truth, but whether that truth be symbolic or literal, it's another thing. But basically, when Eve and Adam were in the Garden of Eden, animals were like very like kind, like wild animals. Like they literally were like purring with like lions, and like they were like petting lions, and like they would talk to like the animals. You know what I'm saying? Like symbolically, I think that's kind of showing that in God's original plan for creation, as well as his plan for the new earth and the new heaven to come, it really consisted of animals talking, and animals and humans getting along in harmony, you know? I mean, Adam, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty positive that Adam didn't eat animals. Like, that wasn't a thing until later on. But he named them and loved them and cared for them. And that was his job. And then God gave him fruits and natural things, fruits, legumes, seeds, and so on. And that kind of shows how God intended the creation to be. But this is kind of my theory and my take on it. Basically what happened kind of is that we fell, right? And sin took over creation, and it muddied creation, obviously. And what happened then is that animals became wild, how they are now, how the laws of nature are, how Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory of survival of the fittest, how that kind of came into play, I think was through the fall of man, because it's like kind of shows grace versus what natural state of things are. And the natural state of things are not, I would say, the natural state. The natural state of things are the sinful state because of what Adam and Eve did, because of fall of man, because we sinned first against God and we fell away from God. What happened became the natural state, which is this idea of survival of the fittest, not showing mercy. You have to survive. You have to kill in order to live. The weakest dies, the strongest lives on. That sort of whole thing, and that whole mentality, that wild animal mentality, kind of came from our fall. And I think that's a really interesting point, and it's kind of like a little like theory of mine that I have. But anyway, so I get off topic really easily. So back to what I was saying, if I can even remember at this point, was that basically, oh yeah, now I remember. Basically that we can say that, like, some people would say, oh yeah, animals were created so we could like eat them and we could hunt them. They're basically created just for humans. And as I kind of touched on before, that's not the case. But it's also important to realize that when God did say this, like, I'm not saying like God didn't say this. God did say, oh, you should use animals to basically eat and survive. God said that. And that's where kosher came from. Or I'm sorry, I don't know if it's kosher. I probably sound really stupid because I don't know if it's kosher, but it's how the old Jewish rites of how to kill an animal came from. It was God gave them a specific way in which you murdered an animal or you killed an animal in order to eat or in order to sacrifice. And it was done very respectfully. You prayed for the animal. You prayed over the animal. You didn't do it, you did it respectfully. You did it humanely. And this is the difference, okay? That's how it was when God asked them to do that. Nowadays, our industries, they do not pray for the animal. They do not respect the animal. The animal barely even lives a life. Chickens can't even walk, or chickens are thrown into grinders if they're a male just because they aren't profit driven. You can look that up. That's a fact. If you are a male chicken in the egg industry, they are thrown into grinders because they won't produce breasts big enough to. I don't know the specifics, they won't produce. I don't know the specifics, but just you can look it up. It's a common practice in farming. And then there's just so many other horrible things. And like, I'm going to post some links to some videos that kind of show you, because like they'll do a way better job of explaining than I do. But basically they brand animals without anesthesia, cut their beaks off. they cut their testicles off all without anesthesia, and these animals, these poor animals, are like screaming in pain, and that is the industry nowadays. And no one talks about it because it's not regulated, and it's just horrendous. No one knows about it. If people knew about it, I think it would be a lot different. But since people don't know about it, no one's doing anything because no one's talking about it, and we really got to start doing that. But anyway, I'm gonna get really passionate about it. But the thing is that that is not how it was back then. And this is the next thing. God at the time as well, we needed meat to survive. There was not, we didn't have the capacity back then. People didn't have the amount of money we have nowadays. Like, you literally had to survive off of meat. Nowadays, and also with our bodies, you don't have to do that at all. Eating meat now is a luxury. It's a choice. And it's not necessary for survival. In fact, actually, and this is like so shocking, I heard this statistic that if everyone stopped eating meat, we could feed the world. So that kind of just goes to show how, like, we as like rich Western culture are kind of just like eating like the amount of meat and cheese and whatever I can't even talk. Whatever else we are consuming is like so in excess, and like it's so expensive that we could be using that money instead by eating like beans and legumes and other natural, nuts and whatnot, and as well as fruits and vegetables. We could be using the rest of that, all of that money, and that could completely defeat world hunger. So like, that's just crazy. And like the world could survive off of without eating meat at all. So like, that's just crazy. And then another reason we shouldn't eat meat, I believe, as a Catholic, is for the environment. Us as Catholics, we really need to watch over the environment. We really need to protect the environment, God's creation. And eating meat is so bad for the environment. And again, I'm not the one who's going to give you the best statistics on this, but there are great documentaries that have the exact statistics on these facts. And basically, eating meat is just so bad for the environment. It's like I think it's either almost as bad or worse than cars. And cars are like the most talked about thing. Think about it. When you think about what's bad for the environment, the first thing you say, it's just like when people say, how do you get cancer? Oh, smoking. Like, that's like the first like thing. Like, that's the big thing. Then people say, oh, how did global warming come about? Oh, obviously cars, gas. Actually, a big, big part of it, if not an equal or greater part, is cows. And there's a whole talk about that, but basically they secrete gases, and by farming these cows in such large numbers, basically it's just as bad as cars and fuel. So that's just crazy. I was so shocked when I heard that. And I was like, wow, like the fact that it's bad for the environment too. Like, that's just another reason. And then I just wanted to say too that, like, I personally am a vegetarian for moral reasons. It's really hard for me to be vegetarian, but I'm not saying it's easy, but like, just for moral reasons, I didn't feel in my conscience that I was doing like what God wanted me to do by eating meat. And like, I just want to say that, like, if you want to eat meat, I'm not gonna like come over and judge you, obviously. Like, I'm a very like non-judgmental person, but I just want to bring these issues to light so you can make your own decision on what you think is like morally like correct for you and yourself and your family. So that was just kind of something I just want to put out there, because I was wondering if you might have been wondering, oh, like, is she vegan? Is she vegetarian? Is she whatever? But I am, and it's not like I'm someone who's like, I am vegetarian and it is so fun and it is so easy. Like, I don't think that. Like, I think like it's a struggle. It's a serious struggle, and I mess up sometimes and I feel bad about it, but I mess up sometimes and I'm like, oh no. But like, it's not easy to do. And if I didn't feel morally bad about it, then like I would probably eat meat. But, taking health completely aside, it to me is immoral and doesn't really align with my faith. So that's kind of what the talk I wanted to do was. I'm gonna actually have another talk for about animals. That's gonna be more about pets and about pets, whether I believe that pets go to heaven. So that'll be another really fun talk that we'll do soon. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this talk, and like I hope you guys learned something. And like I said again, like I'm gonna post some of the documentaries that I watched and the videos that really opened my eyes about this subject. I'm going to post it in the bio to this video. So thank you guys again. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I just enjoy doing this so much. And I love, love, love hearing feedback. So please comment and tell me what you thought about the video. And remember to subscribe. Thank you guys.